So I said about design, and I was like a little bit kind of not sure where to start, because if we say design, and just Google, I guess like people think about most likely a graphic design, and I don't know like if this is something also like you do in your course or the program, but like I said, last time, I'm not going to do like graphics design, because that's something totally like different skill that you have to learn. Although I can show you some of the tools that you might be interested in using to kind of help doing the graphics design. But when we say design, it's also like including interaction design, which gives this kind of more serious diagrams and so on. I think this is like iterative design. And more specifically, you have like user experience design, which is something I'm more interested in. Like, so it's not just about like graphics or what the color is, what layout is about, but it's about creating something for the user. And this is something that I was kind of avoiding for the last 2 classes, because I said, let's do something fun. So we have some content. I hope everyone's like already starting to make your website or blog, and you have some content already, I hope. If not, that's also okay. You still have, 1 week to prepare. But what I'm saying is that now, like, we're just starting with, what you're enthusiastic about. So it doesn't really, you know what to write, for example. But then, like, if it's a more serious project, like a portfolio that majority of you said, then we start to have to think, who's actually reading this, because you can't just have fun content in your portfolio. And I mean, you can also make it nice, but then like you need to know who's actually reading this. Is it someone who's recruiting you, or is it someone or hiring you, or is it someone who you want to work with in the future, or is it, I don't know. There are like, it really depends on what you do in your career, I guess, and it can also change, right? So right now, maybe you want to have someone hire you, but then if you're hired, maybe you want to, find someone to, I don't know, collaborate with, or you want to find friends, or all this, like, the user or the target population changes all the time. And I'm still talking about something like very vague, because when we say like, okay, like I want to make a portfolio that attracts someone to hire me, but then we're still like abstracting, like what is this person? And one of the popular strategy or like a tool to define this user is called persona. I can just search for some inspirations, user study, or I don't know, design. Yeah. So persona is like basically fictional characters. So it's not about like, I mean, you can actually go to like different directions, and there's no like, the thing with like design, I think it's same for graphics design, but also like with the user experience design and so on, there is no like standard. I mean, there are tools that are available, and people really like study about this. For example, what I'm studying now in my research is about how to work with users. And there are like so many different ways to do this. So it's not like, math that you have a formula, but you really have to like look into different strategies and see if this is something works for you or not. And persona is one of the things, but also like, so it's about creating fictional characters that So in our case, who's going to look into your blog, or who's going to look into your, who's going to read your portfolio that we create, but also based on the observations of the users. And, but also, you don't have to use this. You can also think about like a specific person who's going to read your blog or the website or portfolio. That's also valid if that's more effective. I mean, it depends, because if we were like talking about website, it's not like you're showing this to specifically one person. It's like it may be possible in some cases, but most likely you want to kind of appeal wide range of people, but still like you need to look for something more niche. So this is like persona is kind of like goes somewhere in between, so that you create a fictional character that represent sort of the population, like this niche population. And one of the examples, I mean, we can read this, but this is basically saying what I was saying. So it represents the people or population, and then this is not my style. So one of the things I wanted to do is like I just wanted to show like actual example what I did in the past. I made a website. It's like interactive website, so it's not like kind of the blog exactly like what we're doing now, but I can show you how it looks like. Actually, this is like part of the performance I did, so kind of related to what I was showing earlier, but it's something interactive, not just like text and stuff. So it's more than text. It has this interactive camera and like filter and so on. But to do this, it's kind of like a fun project I did, but also so it has this like writing a blog kind of fun side to it. Changing colors and adding these different filters. That was fun, but at the same time we were we were showing this in an exhibition, so we had to kind of narrow down like who's interested in this type of experience, and we wanted to target those people specifically. And for example, like also the context was that this was during COVID, like pandemic. I think it was 2022, so like beginning of 2022. So it was like kind of the time that was like okay to go out, but also like we are working a lot with people in dance, so that's kind of like a target user, quote unquote. And so we wanted to appeal them, and especially that the fact was that because of the COVID pandemic, they can't just keep doing the classes like in real life, so they can't just come to dance studio and teach, and they lost a lot of opportunities. So we wanted to like open up some kind of dialogue through this installation. Some technical details I will keep it aside, but then what I wanted to say is like that was during pandemic, and I wanted to like show people in dance what's possible, but also not just people in dance, but for example like so this is like a profile of someone who doesn't exist that I made up with my collaborator and just put their name and their age. So it's very like specific. Performance artist, so what is her like profession and what is her background. Also like this image we just found on Google search, it's not someone we know, but it's important that when we say persona, it's not just like a random fictional character that is like in abstract space, but we kind of like give birth to this person, so we know that okay, we can start to like imagine concretely like okay, this person is gonna interact with this or like look at your website. And it's same with if you're making a portfolio, then you might want to appeal this person. And but also like this has to be the person who is potentially, you know, looking at your website. I'll go into that later, but so that was in Germany. So we said, okay, this person has a background in art education, living in Düsseldorf, and so she has art education, but she's not knowledgeable in technology, and so that's kind of like something that informs us that, and probably this kind of person exists. That's kind of also the rationale that we were designing the persona. And so, for example, this information, no technical background, but curious, so we don't want to give too much like exposure to, you know, jargons, this, you know, whatever terms that only tech savvy people know. So we want to avoid that, and we want to make the interface easy, so, you know, because she's curious, so we want her to be like engaged and not to lose her interest because of it's too technical, for example. And yeah, like her interest, she has a part-time job, so this kind of like really like background information of that person. So it's not just about we name them and she's interested in, I don't know, hiring this type of person, but then does she have child? Does she have like other job? Where she's coming from? All these like information really helps to build up, actually, because, you know, as a person we all have like different layers. So sometimes, you know, like having cat or sounds not so relevant, but in like building personas, we have to be, you know, add all these information to make it concrete so that we can actually treat them as a person, not just as a use case. And yeah, so as I said, it was during the pandemic, so I had to give some information that, you know, she needed to find places to exhibit, and she's immigrant, whatever. I could have said, you know, immigrant from which country. That will also help the context. And also, like, I actually forgot about this. We made this customer journey or like a scenario, which is also important. I mean, in the case of like website, maybe it's not so relevant, but what is their like what is their like, what do we expect? How do they experience this? Or if you think about the website, you can think about like a scenario as like, where do they look first? Do they look about page first, or do they gonna read the whole top page, landing page first, or do they go into the post? So this is like a small detail, but we can like sketch out what would be their experience when they face the website or installation or artifact or whatever. So in this case, they enter the installation, the space where we are showing this as a video projection, and then they're actually not expecting that they can move around and something will change, and so on. I mean, this is like detailed stuff specifically for our experience. And we can have like different personas, because it's not like one person is going to look at your website. So in this specific case, we had other person, Enrique, his age and also his background. He's more like knowledgeable in technology, but also has training in dance and so on and so on and so forth. So that's one of the ways to think about, you know, design. Then once we have personas, then we can, if we make a post or write about something, we can evaluate if this block of text appealing to Enrique or Christiana or whatever that you created, that helps understanding if this is meaningful or not. So that's that. But there's like a big problem with this that I think in this page, I'll put all the links in my page, so you will find it later. I will send it to you later. But the problem with this is that basically, what do they say? Well, they have a lot of things they say in the website, but basically, like, to build these personas, you have to know the users, because that's kind of like extracted information from all the users you expect. So you have to really like study who's going to read your website, or who's reading your website. Or if you take an example of like portfolio, you can check other person's portfolio and you go through like who's actually reading this, and what these people are. Then you can start building personas. But then in real life, we don't really have access to this information. Sadly, I mean, at least I don't have this, and that's why like people, like companies, they have cookies and so on, like this privacy, whatever, that when you land, like a big website, they will ask you if you agree to give this information, that information, and I don't know if you just click OK or if you try to like deny everything, but they still have this necessary cookies and so on. This is because for the marketing, and basically it's the same as like persona or user study, they need information about you so they can actually build personas. So it's not about specifically about you. It's actually, that's not so important about like each individual, but then they can aggregate and then they create personas, and then they can start designing things to, well, in this case, selling things, most likely in the corporate field. So that's why like people are crazy about collecting data, and nowadays probably in your generation don't really care what data is sent to who, but everything's connected, so they know, what, I don't know, toothpaste you buy because you have Siri opened on your phone and it's listening to whatever conversation you have, and then, it sounds conspiracy theory, but to a certain extent, I think it seems it's true. So that's why like they need to get all this information. And I was like wondering, so one thing we could do is like to actually do field research. That's why I was like proposing that, because that could be interesting. But I didn't really plan it well today, so we're not going to do it now. Maybe in the next coming weeks, if I come up with a nice idea to visit somewhere to just observe people and take notes. That's actually quite interesting. Well, I don't know, at least I find it interesting. So that's like, this is like design, and I kind of like, I had this, when I was like thinking about this class, I felt like this is like dead end, and I don't know how to, expand this for web development. So I'll just close this tab because I'm kind of done with the design. And now my practice is, I do research, but also I work as an artist. And that's something I found interesting, where this like, design is not art and art is not design. And in art, sometimes you find like crazy ideas. And this could feed you to actually not to copy their ideas, but for example, or maybe not this one, this one. So I'm gonna like go through some of the inspirational people who's using internet, like website in art context. And I'm gonna just like try to, show some examples that might be interesting for you. It might not be interesting for you. I'll compile all the lists in the end in the page I'm building for the class, so you'll find it later. But the idea is that look through these examples and find what you can use, because the problem I feel with this idea of portfolio is that you will probably like find some kind of like template in the end, what you want, but then I kind of like, it starts to like narrow down and you lose the fun aspect of, making things. Because if you talk about, random stuff on your portfolio, probably people don't take it serious. So you have to have some kind of, I don't know, rigor or some seriousness in your portfolio, but you can also add a bit of, like experimental things that can stand out, because that's not what people normally do, I think. And you can kind of have this, balance of playfulness and seriousness, so that people think that. And also, like, if you see like corporate, they always take ideas from artists, more like experimental people. So let's do that as a in a strategic way, but not as a copying something. So, but also, like, I work as an artist, and I work a lot with this web as a medium, and yeah, I also get inspired by people in this field. So let's look into them and see if this makes sense, or it actually might not sense, but at least you will get to know some weird part of the internet, and you can decide if you want to do this or not, or if you take some inspirations or not, but it's up to you. So this is, hello. So this is like one of the inspirations for me. She's an artist, Annie Abrahams. She's in her 60s, I guess. So she's like one of like the pioneers. So we're gonna like look into like really weird stuff that's looks super old school. But she's like also like super, like still maybe not super active, but still active in the field. She also works with like performance and so on. So I have a lot of like, I took a lot of inspiration from her, and you can see that. Oh, actually, they're not links. Some text on the left, which is super interesting because actually she has this like text in French, and then followed by the text in English. I think the same text, just translated. It's like black and red. And then, oh, okay, there's something here. I clicked accidentally. But in the middle, there's this little, I guess it's like GIF or GIF. You can't click. And then, yeah, there's like this vertical logo on collaboration that I accidentally clicked, and it seems like you can send something here. You cannot use more than 500 characters at a time. I don't know, it's something like Twitter X kind of thing that I think she's like combining this web interface and this in real life. They have this cardboard that someone's going to write the text. And I didn't know there's a gallery called HTTP in London. You can open it. Okay, it's not, I don't know if it's a real thing or it's redirected to something else. So anyways, it's a bit sketchy, so I will not go through. So that's like a little experiment she was, or artwork she made. And I have to say, this is like, not a website you would like to copy because it's hard to find information. For example, her contact, it's like this small text here, contact plus bio, that doesn't really, in our template, it's like quite clear because it's in the footer. And I think that's kind of like normal practice, but in her case, it's like here, and that's her. and she has like a lot of text, which also has some kind of like recap of her projects. Wow, it's a lot. It's more like a CV. I mean, yeah, it says CV. So yeah, like if you want to have like a big bio, that's also possible. You can have like big photo of yourself. It's actually nice that she has this like dithering effect. I don't know if you know. Probably there are some online tools to do it as a filter. This is like retro kind of thing. This is actually super interesting because, for example, if you don't want to show your face, but somehow you need to, give an impression of who you are on the website, you can also use that kind of filter. And I like that she has this kind of like tagline instead of her like big name, but some kind of tagline. So that's that. But actually, I said it's a bad design, but the big text is the recent events, so it's quite clear that this is like something she wants to highlight. Look at this, right? And if you go to recent events, it actually goes to her WordPress, which is also crazy because this was like kind of landing page for her portfolio, let's say, but also she has another portfolio on WordPress that's more like, it's actually closer to what we're building because it has, like the first post, and the second latest post, and so on. So that's more like, so actually this is also like interesting because she has one side, like this WordPress, that's more like organized, and the news, you can see all this news in the posts, but also she has her identity as a net artist that is more like experimental with all this GIF and these weird links. Also, if you're interested, I'm probably not gonna be using this tool, or maybe at one point I can talk about it, but it's a free tool called Hot Glue that she often uses. So this is her collaborative project, and it's hosted on Hot Glue, which is like a bit like Glitch, but Hot Glue makes it easy for you to kind of compose a web page instead of like making a website. And you can simply manipulate pictures, text, video, and no programming skill needed, so it's great. And I guess there is like a example, user cases. So as you can see, it's also like quite weird artistic stuff, but also like, for example, this looks quite more like designy, which I think it looks nice. I don't know if, and this can be like, inspiration for your portfolio as well. You don't have to use Glitch. If you want to use Hot Glue, that's also possible. Although, it doesn't really look nice on the phone, probably, because you want to have something nice on the phone. But if you kind of like shrink the website, you can always try it like this to see if it works nice on the phone or not. And probably it's not the greatest, but maybe it's okay if it's just images. And actually this is quite nice. I like it that it's really like telling the story through the images, and it has this like subtle, it has this, like it's not, it looks quite random, but it's not. And sorry for the middle finger. And also have this, like big image that kind of splits the page. So this could be actually super nice inspiration. And I think it's like a theater, it seems. I don't know what this project is about, but I can also put this in the link because this looks super nice. And I think this is like, what is this? I don't know. This looks like embed page, anyways. So, so if this looks something interesting for you, go for it. I don't think I have to explain a lot. I'll put the link somewhere, hotglue.me. That's the link, and then you just have to register, and it's free. I don't know if I have an account. I might have used it before, but anyways. So that's something, and yeah, Annie's using this as well. So she's using more with the text, but also you can see that images are kind of spread out as well. So you can combine like images. Also, you can put like Vimeo, YouTube link, like embed, and then text around, so on. So this could be something as an inspiration. Okay, and this looks like embed of SoundCloud, but I think it's a link to SoundCloud, so you can always like put a screenshot, which I don't know if it makes sense or not. But okay, I'm gonna just open another window, and in terms of like web, like net art, someone I really recommend is Joanna Chico. Sometimes I work with her, and she's like same like generation as me, and what she does is like, it's also very experimental. You can see that it's like scrolling diagonally, and this is basically her portfolio, right? So you kind of like, I'm just like scrolling vertically, but it goes, all, and actually it's nice that this whole picture of the project that covers the whole screen, and also like what we notice is that well, maybe in Annie's case it's a little bit different, but here like you don't have to show what you did the latest or what's, I don't know, like basically you can decide your order, right? So in your landing page or about page, you might list things that you do, and you can always show what you want to show, basically. So you don't have to be like, honest about, I did this project and that project this year, that year, and say it chronologically or the other way around. There's no like rule. So for example, like I don't know if my example is a good one, but this is my portfolio, let's say, as an artist, and this is like doing other way around from like what I said. It's just listing all the projects I've done in a chronological order, so it's quite useless, but also like my intention was to show that I'm doing a lot of things. So if that's something you want, so maybe you can just, show all the project you did in the class, you did outside the school, you did in other time, you did it at a hackathon, whatever. You can say all the projects you've done, that's also fine. But probably in most cases, what you want is more like kind of curate your work. So for example, this is like it's also my portfolio, but how to say, like my website, like main website. And here I don't list everything. I pick ones that I want people to see. And also like this is like my artist website, so basically I'm showing more like visual things. So I'm not showing what I do in the research, but yeah, basically saying that look at this, look at that. And it's not in a chronological order. Some things are like quite old, like this one's from 2021, but this is from this year, and like there's no rule. So, and it's also like helpful sometimes that, even if the project is not super interesting, if it's visually, like if you have nice photos of, I don't know, something, if you have nice image, maybe that's something you want to highlight in your portfolio, because why not? Because if that's eye-catching and if that's interesting for people, and also like that kind of like goes against the persona idea of like who's looking at. Well, actually, it goes hand in hand that, you know, basically you want to also situate like how you want to be seen, basically. So and that's, you know, like I'm talking about images a lot, but for example, in Annie's case, she has a lot of text. And this is like, because she has a lot of visual material as well, but I think it's kind of intentional, like her decision that, because her strength is writing, and also people expect that she does like practice with writing, so she puts a lot of text that makes it, you know, even if someone who's looking like you looking at this for the first time, you see that, oh, like she's something, you know, like into writing, and, you know, writing and reading and text based thing. So that's also like a strategy you can use. And what's interesting about this is that you also see that it's not like academic text, it's not more like a poetry, and that's different from academic text because, for example, I didn't expect her as an example in this case, but someone I know, Sarah, she's, well, my supervisor's collaborator, let's say. She also works with performance and dance, but in her portfolio, because I think she sees herself as a researcher, as a kind of like a main job. So it has more like, you know, clean, and it gives an impression that she's working a lot with in the academic context. Like just even, you know, like with the impression from this landing page, it gives this idea that also this font and, you know, black and white, it has like less of this, you know, playfulness, and that's also like intentional, right? So it's not like, I mean, this is her decision, and if you go to research, you can see that. But actually, it's quite visual. I thought it's going to be like a list of all the publications. I think that's more on the publications. Yeah, you can see that she's publishing a lot of papers. So, and like active in the field. Also having this serif font on the title. So it really like just analyzing. Well, I can keep this here as well. Looking at people's portfolio, you can really see what, and especially from like established people, you can really see like what, like how they want to situate, how they want to be seen. So that's that, and I can also click, going back to Joanna's portfolio. If you go to like rehearsal series, that's more like experimental thing that she's doing. I think also like I like this little animation. If you hover on the link, it kind of like, it flips it's making the text other way around. I think she's also like into like, you know, programming this kind of stuff for websites. So, and okay, next example. Well, actually, I didn't click on any of her projects. Maybe I can click here. So this is like another web page, but basically a website, but basically that's what Joanna was designing. And I think it's like no, it's the page, it's the website of Design Academy Eindhoven actually. So I think she did the design for this design of the Design Academy's website. And I don't know what to say. It's kind of funny that the search bar is in the middle. I don't know if this is intentional or not, but I don't know. Classes. But maybe it's like really like intentional that they want to, you know, because normally like if the search bar is not something you would go first, but maybe they wanted to show this so that people will engage with this. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but for me it kind of works, right? So what's taking the big space on the landing page, also what's in the middle, that definitely influences a lot to the user's experience. So that's something. I'll close this one. What else? No, I'm not going to click this one. Okay, so, or maybe I do. By the way, I don't know why my computer's not charging. Okay, now it's charging. Yeah, maybe I can also put this, it's like an online magazine. I was kind of hesitant because I was also part of, wait, where is it? Oh yeah, this one. This was my project. They had this kind of like open call for artists to make really like random websites, and in this idea of recoding everyday technology, and they made some kind of either like interactive page or like online documentation of their experiments, some random things. Anyways, I'll just keep it here, but I don't know what to talk about. It was interesting because they had hybrid exhibition, so this online exhibition as a website, it stays there, and they also had an exhibition last year in the real life so that people can visit, and they had some kind of like, I don't know if it was prints or, for example, like people like this artist, they made this circuit board, so that was like exhibited, and I made some cards that were exhibited and so on. I don't know if there's much to say. I kind of like Joanna's work. Basically, you click this one, and it kind of like gives you a score that you can do in front of the computer, which I think is, I mean, she's coming from design, and I think it's like super smart. Retrain your muscle memory, that you can do it mentally in front of the computer, and I think that's the idea, that this web page is choreographing or affecting you by giving these messages. So I know this is like super like artistic or like poetic work, but maybe this is something we can use. I don't know. Yeah. What? What are the online gestures? Yeah. I like this one. I don't know how it will fit in web development, but there's something about it. Maybe you want to use some of the phrases. If you want to actually quote them, you should make a link. If you are like inspired, maybe you also should link to show that you get inspired by this and that. And something that also to get like inspiration, like what I've been seeing, like if that's something for you, there's also this net art anthology. So this is like whole, like, there are like crazy people who's working with this net art. I'm kind of part of this, and it's a kind of like, I guess nobody knows outside art or even art people. Some people probably don't know what this net art is, but basically there are some institutions like New Museum in New York. I don't know what this TOMA is. There are people like really like investing in this, and also people like crazy about preserving old net art. It's like there's so-called media archaeology, I think that's the word. And basically this page, I will also put the link somewhere. Maybe I'll make a new page. This is basically an archive of like all the important net art related stuff, and again, take that, you know, as an inspiration. If that's something you can use, maybe that's interesting. Most of them probably you cannot really directly use for your portfolio or serious project, but you know, who knows? And for example, I don't know, this is interesting. This is like one of the earliest net art, simple net art diagram. And basically this is the artwork that it says this is net art. And by the way, this is a computer, if you don't know. It looked like this in 1997. But this, you know, this looks like, you know, just simple GIF, but, and I don't know about, like, back then, I was not an artist. I was in a elementary school or something. But it's allegedly, like, it's a big thing, you know, like they have these interviews and all these quotes, and also like this extended version of net art diagram that goes through all the way, but it says, oh, come on. Yeah, I don't know. It's a complex net art diagram. Anyways, it looks more like a meme actually, because people kind of, you know, remix it. It's kind of funny. And yeah, so net art. This is also net art that they basically took a screenshot of Google back then in 2003, 4, and they printed a big screenshot of Google top page. Like, this is not. No, this is a process actually. Yeah, it looks like this. So in the exhibition, they have a big browser of Google, like screenshot printed, which is kind of stupid. But also, like, I recently noticed like this, like vaporwave and so on. There's like a lot that, you know, like having this revival of old internet. I don't know if I don't like their latest album so much, but for example, this indie pop band, they've been using this kind of like, maybe not this one. I think it's called Imaginary. No, no, disc. I remember they had like a really old internet vibe web page. I don't know, it seems disappeared, but anyways. Does it relate to a portfolio? I don't know, but there is definitely like a kind of, you know, homage to old internet. I should find something more useful than this, I guess. What else? Processing, maybe, maybe not. I should find the work from Olina. Yeah. This This is a super interesting one that I think it's still, yeah, you can see the work. It's called My Boyfriend Came Back from the War. It's from 1996. And basically the idea is that, it has to go to the, so they make it super complex that they have this emulator of the browser, but the point is that it's basically a link, and you kind of click the link, and they use like a frame in the web browser, which is not really used anymore because of some problems, or maybe not a problem, but it's not really, how to say, cool anymore. But basically what it does is like each page is just single HTML page, and then if you click, sometimes it splits into frame and then load another page. It's like kind of like a visual novel, but also like not just linear novel, and because novel itself you just read from the top to the bottom and then go to the next page, but this one you can click random parts of the page and then it unfolds the story in your, whatever order you like, happening in different things in parallel. So that's something I found it super interesting, not just as an art, but as a way of storytelling, because I guess storytelling is one of the things that also important when it comes to, portfolio, again, because basically what you want to do is tell a bit of your story. Maybe it's not like your autobiography, but you want to show it's not just about what your skills are, but where you come from and why you're doing this project, that project. And it could be that I'm just translating to this like blog that we made or we are making, that it could be like one post is like telling the whole story about, I don't know, your time in Tallinn, or if you're from here, I don't know, one story about Erasmus you did somewhere, and so on, which could be like one way of doing it. And I think it's more like, let's say, like linear or rational, but also you could think about like having different you can like decompose one post into like several ones, and you can like interlink them, because I don't know if I explained to you, but if we go back to the glitch editor, and finally I'm doing something more like hands-on today. I think I was talking enough. So for example, like this is a index.md, which is, as you know, it's the landing page, and I need to check what the links are. I will just open preview in a new window, and for example, like, let's say this one, in course 02, no, actually, so this is the URL of course 02, right, in the address bar. So you can just like copy it, and in the landing page, or let's say like landing page, I can just say you can skip to post course 02. Wait, is that the way? Like link like this, so that if you do this, then this link will show up on the landing page, and if I click on this, it will just skip to course 02, and also you can do that in course 01 page, post, I have to be careful. Next post, like this, or I would say like this, and backwards. So if I land on course 01 page, now I have this link at the top that is next post course 02. So now it's like kind of interlinked. Actually, yeah, actually this exists already at the bottom of the page, so it doesn't really make sense because you can see this next post. This is automatically generated, so actually posts are like sequentially like linked to each other like this. But the point I wanted to make is like also, you can put these links in the text. So like if you have like, I don't know, like one post about the study at Tallinn University, and then you want to like branch it out to the study you did during, how to say, like you had like a semester outside and you wanted to link to that post, that's also possible. And you can really like create a story or narrative in a way that it's more like less linear, and people can explore this at their pace and based on what they're interested in. So what I was showing here is a bit more, like eccentric. It's really like poetic way of doing this, and also I actually didn't notice this color that sometimes, the background, foreground is flipped, and so on. So this is a bit like extreme idea, but if you think about this, like how we can use that in the website, like linking to each other is like super helpful. And then that made me think that, for example, I don't know if my page is still available. Yeah, so this is something I was making before. It's similar to the glitch blog, but basically idea is the same, that one post is basically about one picture, and then often you will see like these links here and there that I kept this more visual, and the text is like really like one sentence, two sentences. But if you go to this link, and then that kind of connects to other image that I took in the same place, for example. So this goes back and so on. And this is basically like how like wiki works, or like, I mean, we're more familiar with like Wikipedia, but Wikipedia is like full of links because they have, that's how it works. And there's no reason why you cannot do that for on your own. So that's like one thing that you might be interested. But of course, that means that you have to make bunch of posts on your own, and then you start linked together. So it's quite like tedious work, I have to say. And yeah, like this wiki took me quite a lot of time to make it, and I have a bunch of posts, but I kind of quit updating since 2020, but yeah, I have like a whole bunch of things, so I can start to like link things together. I'm just like giving this as an idea or inspiration, so that it's not always you have post that goes from top to bottom. I'll keep this link as well, and I think I talked enough. I don't know if there's like, but no, I think I talked enough. I can go back to NetArt Anthology, but I mean, of course, there's like so many interesting things, like Jody. Wait, it's not. This is not the one I thought. Yeah, there's like so many interesting things. Like, also like, this is like more a fun thing, but maybe not. Yeah. Anyways, so. Yeah, it's a little bit early, but I think I will just finish my talking here so we can work on our projects, and also if you have questions you can come to me after the break, and also you can write to me or anything, just bug me if you need anything. I'll just stop the recording here.